Yes.
If you are in a situation where you are like, okay, I'm tired of clients not paying me on time, I'm tired of clients not paying me at all, you want to make sure you are tuning in for the next few minutes and, of course, sharing this video with your business colleagues, your clients who might need this vital information. Because as business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs, we do know that if you are not paid, then it's your business is just going in a downward spiral, right? It's just not gonna be surviving. If you're closing sales and you're not getting paid. So thanks for tuning in today. I do have an awesome guest today, Dee. She is all things collections, all the strategies, everything to ensure that your cash flow is not going down because of monies uncollected. And I don't think we even need to go into the detriment of when our monies are not collected. We do
Oh,
know that, and it's a serious, serious impact. And I see it ever so often. Do, if you are tuning in live and even watching the replay, do put where you're from. Do put any questions or comments you might have in the chat. And of course, we'll be happy to accommodate them. Thank you again, Dee, for tuning in, for joining, for being here, for being willing to share the collection strategies that we need to get paid.
well, first of all, Kersha, thank you so very much. It is an honor to be on the Cash Lab podcast live on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. So to all of our fabulous listeners around the world, I'll say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the show. Get your beverage, get your favorite notebook and pen. You're gonna get some notes today. Because me and Kersha, we about to have some fun. We're gonna tell y'all where the money resides, where the money resides.
Exactly, and we do need that. And I'm always saying, get your notes, your iPad, whatever you need to make the notes, because some it's so much. Sometimes it's like I can't remember, but if you have your notes, then yeah. So Dee, what is? I want to ask you something before we dive in. We
Okay.
hear collections, money's been outstanding, and I think, to be honest, some business owners, some entrepreneurs, some CEOs, they do take it lightly, especially when they don't see that cash crunch, that shortage coming on the horizon. So,
hmm
in all your years of experience, what is like the longest time you've seen persons being owed, and how was that really impacting their business? Before we dive into the strategies,
Well, that's a great question, Cursor. So how about this? How about I tell you a story about the longest time I've seen it and how much money was outstanding?
let's go. I love the
Let's go.
stories.
All right. So once upon a time in a place far, far away, actually, no, I'm just kidding. So seriously,
Yeah.
I used to work for a small IT company outside of Boston, where I'm from. And you know how it is when you get hired for the company. You're welcome aboard. Here's your cubicle. Here's your box, and here's your plan. So I got hired. I'm a part-time collector. I work Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. And they said, "Hey D, um, accounts receivable aging." They said, "We've got this aging, and we've got $8 million. Did you hear me? $8 million and outstanding receivables. That's over 30, 60, 90, and 120 days past due. We have not been able to get this money collected, and according to your resume, it says you know how to collect money, so we need you to do what you do." So
Yeah.
I am a believer. So before I went to work, I had a short prayer with God. It kind of went like this: "Hey God,
Of
yes,
course,
D,
yeah.
how are you? You know what, God? Overall, I'm fantastic. But according to your word, it says if you lack knowledge, you said ask you. So listen, God, I got this $8 million problem, and I need a clue or what I'm supposed to do to recover this money." So when after I talked to God, I got quiet. What came up for me was like these three things, which will weave into the story. So I learned that business to business collections is three things: it's problem solving, number one; it's customer service, number two; and as you see above my head, it says gratitude, which is saying thank you.
Yeah.
So when I got quiet and I figured out that I had an $8 million problem, the company had an $8 million problem. I had to figure out, okay, how do I begin this process? So I start getting on the phone. I do it old school. I'm on the phone. "Hi, my name is D. I'm from such and such company. I need to speak to a person in accounts payable, please." "Oh, hey, hold on a second. Well, according to our list, you have these outstanding invoices." "Yes, we do." And one company said, "Hey, listen, we changed our billing system." So old school, they used to use like Microsoft Excel, and they went to something else. And they said, we need you. We're not paying. The reason your outstanding invoices are upwards of $2 million is because we sent a letter to all of our customers saying we changed our billing system. So from Microsoft Excel to, let's say, it's QuickBooks or whatever it is,
Yeah.
we told everybody reformat your invoices and resubmit them. Somehow y'all missed it. So you've got $2 million that's sitting here outstanding. So you're not getting paid until you reformat all these invoices to the new billing system,
Wow.
resubmit them, and then you get paid. And so I take this to the comptroller and I'm like, hi, this is why 2 million of the $8 million is outstanding, because we didn't reformat the invoices. So of course, one week all I do is reformat invoices with AP and resubmit them, and we finally get paid. But after that, I collected $6 million in 60 days while working part-time. Now, the reason why this issue is so important to me is because of this. After I'm a part-time person, so like I said, we got $8 million. I go talk to God, I get my clue, I got to figure out problem solving, customer service, gratitude. I collect $6 million. Now I'm on a team of
Yeah.
people. So we collect this money. The CEO of the company says, let's have a chat. Now I'm in AR, so I'm thinking we're about to get a bonus. Nah, no, no, not. So we could all come downstairs. It's about 100 of us. And he says, listen, I want to thank everybody across sales, contracts, order entry, order fulfillment, invoicing, and accounts receivable, aka collections, my section. I want to thank everybody for everything y'all have done. We've made an executive decision. We're closing the company. You got 30 minutes to go get your box in that same plant you came up in here with and leave the building. This is 2 months
Wow.
before Christmas. And
Yeah.
this story is in my book, Collect the Cash. And I talk about this because this company had millions of dollars in AR that was over
Mhm.
30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days past due. They had a team of collectors, including me. Collectively, we collected a lot of money. But obviously, there were some other things that happened that they made the executive decision. Even after we collected that much money, they closed the business. And the reason I keep talking about, collect the cash, the sale is not complete until the money's in the bank, is because that company was operating as if it had all this money in the bank, and it did not.
Yeah.
And by the time we got the money, I'll never know. Even though this happened to me years ago, I will never know. Even if we have recovered all of the outstanding AR, would that have been enough to save the company? I don't know. But I do know that if you neglect this part of your business, you can operate thinking that you've got all this money on the books, all this money, all these sales, and even though you've signed the contract, but you haven't fulfilled anything, you haven't delivered anything, you haven't billed anything, you haven't gotten paid. And
Yeah.
so this part of collections is important, because I get it. Most people would rather get a root canal than have to go ask their client to pay them for money. I get it. I
Yeah,
don't,
it's
they
true. It's true. It's true. And it's a valid point because, and it's something that I'm always so passionate about because, like, there some, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. The question is asked, when is the sale complete? To the salesperson, to the lawyer, to accounting. When do they think the sale's complete? Some persons are like, to the salesperson, it's when the contract is signed. To the lawyer, it's when, that. But ultimately, if whatever you're doing, whatever decision you're making in your business, it's not reflected in your bank account, there is a problem. And if you choose to neglect it, it's just a matter of time, just like what you said happened with this company, right? It was just a matter of time before the impact of not getting collections in were felt and seen and led them to close.
Right. And then on top of that, 100 people. It wasn't just me. It was 100 people
Yes.
of a small company that went out of business. And so, and then we so to add to that, Kirsha, we just came through COVID. We're on the other side of it now, but you and I both, as we've been talking, we've watched major corporations, medium-sized companies, small businesses close, close, close,
Yes.
close, close, or file bankruptcy, which is the same thing as closing. Even though they're reshuffling, they're still closing. Well, and the
Mhm.
reason this is so important to me is because I was a person. I was one of 100 people. That's 100 people whose lives got turned upside down because of the mismanagement of accounts receivable.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at all those companies that just closed, and I'm wondering how many vendors had sold them products or services, how many of them had contracts that they were looking for them to
Yeah.
get fulfilled and they didn't, how many of them billed them for their services. Hey, I delivered you the 10 sneakers. What I billed you, you got the sneakers. How come I'm not getting paid? Times and times and times and times. And so this part, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation because this part of the journey is like most people go, I've never met anybody who's so passionate about this. Well, that's because listen, when you go to work, when you whether you or you work for a company, when you show up there and you expect them to be managing things correctly and you realize it's not happening, your whole life can turn upside down. And I believe that in business, there are things that happen to us, whether it's in life or in business. You have those pivotal moments, things that you just know. I know it could be yesterday, it could have been 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. There's something that happens to you, and you're like, I don't want to end up here again. And for me,
Yes.
it was, I mean, I have my own business now, but the point is, I'm saying is that I watched this company not be responsible. And so I was like, okay, God, show me how I can take what I love to do, which is collecting money for businesses and corporations and that things of that nature. How can I teach them basically to take your accounts receivable aging, aka your tracking report, and find
Mhm.
out how many customers do you have?
Yeah.
What's the state? How many invoices are currently due? How many are 30 days due, 60 days due, past 90 days past due? And what are you doing to do the follow up? Either you're doing it as a CEO or you have somebody that's doing it for you. And what
Exactly.
do you do? And what are you doing when you have a problem? Do you get on the phone? Does your who gets on the phone? Who's doing customer service? Who's problem solving? And then the piece I talk about often, which people are like, who says thank you? I said, well, what's funny? You'd be surprised when you finally get paid for something that you've been waiting for a long time. When you go back and tell that customer thank you set yourself apart because
Exactly.
most people will just take their money. You owe it to me. Okay, technically, yes, they do. But when you build the relationship and you go back and say thank you for taking my phone call, cutting that check, or doing EFT, like funds transfer, and making sure I get paid. When you go back and say thank you, that sets you apart. That's why it says above my head gratitude. I got those three things years ago. That is problem solving, customer service, and gratitude, and that's been the thing that set me apart. For people like nobody ever comes back and says thank you. Well, I decided that's going to be my trademark. I'm not a trademark in this legal sense, but my mark of distinction that I go back and say thank you because people need to know as a part of collection strategies is thank you. Because here's the thing: as a matter of fact, I'm not sure in Canada like we do here in the States. When you get a Christmas card or a holiday card from your customer, what do they tell you? Thank you so much for being our customer. We appreciate your
Exactly.
services. Yada yada yada. They give you this whole thing, and what are they doing? They're doing customer service early because they want to be top of mind for the next time you need a product or a service. Well, you got to do the same thing. You
Yeah.
got to do the same thing. Yes.
and
Yeah.
and that's very profound too, because even though you're supposed to be paid, it's still a blessing when you actually are paid, right? So that really is something that it's really great to definitely incorporate that in the strategy. And I'm seeing a lot of it now. I'm seeing persons sending a text and emails, so many different forms of just saying thank you for your business, thank you that you came in to get this done, and so forth and so on. So thinking about a company, especially the small medium sized businesses and even some of the larger ones, they might not really know where to start. They know they have a problem, they might be so overwhelming, taking up the phone, doing this. What is something they can do? What would you say is the first thing they need to do to really get started on this road to getting their collections current?
Great question. Step one. Do you have a list or a tracking of all of your customers? That would
Mm-hmm.
be the first thing because you need to know how many customers you have, whether it's one customer or 10. How many, you need to know the state of your accounts, just like the
Yeah.
accounts receivable aging report. So how many accounts do you have that owe you money currently? That would be the first thing. Then you can plan, all right, the customers because here's the thing, you want to go after the low hanging fruit first. So if
Yeah.
you have customers that owe you currently, that would be if you're looking at you have current invoices, 30 days past due, 60 days past due, 90 days past due. I'm going for the current money first.
Mhm.
I'm going to have a list of all my customers that owe me money today.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be looking at, and I'm going to, as I make that list, I'm going to be pulling up my invoices and I'm going to be verifying that I prepared the invoice properly, because maybe I missed something. You can fat finger and make a data entry error, and you're not paying attention, because whether you're doing it or somebody else is doing it on your behalf, the point is that somebody has to check to make sure the invoice is prepared correctly. So
Exactly.
I'd have my account, and I would have my account, and I'd have my invoice, and I'd be checking to make sure that everything that was supposed to be on the invoice is there. Then I would confirm that it got sent to the right person. Then after, as soon as I did that, I would be on the phone. Hi, I'm D from account whatever your name of your company is. Can I speak to the person in accounts payable, please? Hey, Susie, this is D. How you doing? Well, the dog and the cat and the squirrel, they all had some trauma this week. Yep. Well, how's everybody doing? Well, I think the dog is going to be all right. The cat looks like it might make it, and the squirrel, well, they still the jury is still out about the squirrel. I'm just being funny, but okay. So my point is that you just can't go in and just and ask for the money. You need to be able to have a rapport with the person on the phone. I'm being funny, but I'm saying that. But part of that, of how the strategy is actually treating that person on the other end of the line with respect.
Yes.
How are you? My name is D. I'm calling from a company, blah blah blah, and I'm calling about account number, blah blah blah. Before you get into your whole script, ask them how they are. Just have a moment of just having a conversation. Hey, thanks so much for asking. I'm fine. Hey, how can I help you? Number one, you've allowed them to take a breath, because they already know if you're calling about your money, they're already like, oh my gosh, we got to figure this out. As opposed to, can we talk about it for a quick second? Diffuse the situation. Here's what happened, and then they'll tell you. If they haven't paid you yet, you already know the story goes like this. What had happened was, and you getting ready for the story. They got a story.
Mhm.
If they're a subcontractor to a prime contractor, that means they haven't paid you because they haven't gotten paid.
Yeah.
Or they look it up in the system, and they realize that when you submitted the invoice, you were supposed to submit it, with this information on pink paper at 3 o'clock on Friday. You sent it with green paper at 2 o'clock on Thursday. You didn't pay attention to the information. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can't find it. I can't find your invoice in the system. Who did you send it to? Oh, I sent it to Snoopy at da 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 da. Well, you're supposed to send it to Woodstock. You didn't pay attention to the details. I'm being
Yeah.
funny, but it's all these
It's
little
true.
it's all these little details of why things don't happen. So accounts payable person pulls up your account, and they can't find the thing. They're like, "Oh, it's not here." And then, or they're better yet, when they find it, they see where the mistake was made. Now, here's the part of saying thank you. If they take 5 minutes and tell you what's wrong with your invoice, you can correct it and resubmit it. That's why you say thank you, because they didn't because your invoice could be sitting in the system, just going
Yes.
around and around and around, and you don't know why, and you're mad because you're like, well, how come I haven't gotten paid? But you didn't follow the instructions to prepare the invoice properly, make sure it went to the right person, and then follow up to make sure it's actually in the system. It's that part.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the sexy part, but listen, getting paid is extremely sexy. So listen, I'm gonna do what needs to get done so I can get paid. Just saying.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely, because when you do look at it, that importance of follow up, because sometimes
Mhm.
you think you sent the email, you think it's received, but it's not received. You left that voicemail. Who knows did they receive it? Even a text sometimes.
Right.
Persons perhaps didn't follow up and read. So it's always important to follow up. Why was I not, paid? What is causing that? And yeah. So the last thing I wanted to touch on is
There you go.
you just mentioned there are times when they were not paid, so they can't pay you. What
Yeah.
is there a strategy to really cover yourself for that? Because then that's really it gets very unfair there, right?
Well, there's a part of it that's not necessarily unfair, but I mean, part of it is if you are a subcontractor and you work with a prime, when you go into that relationship, there's part of it that you have to look at your finances and make sure that if the prime doesn't get paid for 60 days, that you've got enough money set aside that you can
Yeah,
still run your business while you're waiting for that payment to come through, because the prime might be dealing with another large company. It might be dealing with a government agency, and it all depends on how that process works. So one of the things that, if you're a sub, is that number one, you have to make sure that when involve yourself in that contractual agreement, what are the payment terms for them? Like, as soon as does a prime pay you, within a week of them getting paid? Is it 2 weeks? You have to outline all those details so that you know that. And then number two, you have to look at your finances and realize that, okay, do I have enough in my business to carry me and my staff for all our expenses from, let's say, it's 30 days before they pay me? And if you realize you're going to be, close, you might have to reevaluate. Can I do this? Can I do this right now? Especially if you're a super small business, if you're waiting for money and everything is tight, you may have to look at and go, I cannot participate in this action, this contract action right now. I may have to wait till I've grown a little bit and I have a little more padding in terms of how much money I have. That so if this payment doesn't come in today, everything is not going to fold. I mean, I've got other payments that I know are coming in while I'm waiting for this one to come in. That would be my thing. Hopefully that's making sense.
Yeah, for sure. And that does make sense. And I'm so happy that you've written a book on this. I'm an author and I'm a lover of words, so I do know the power of words. Tell us about your book. And I do know what led you to write the book, though, because you're so passionate and really want to get this information out. But tell us some of the highlights of your book. What's really covered? Is it better to just connect with you directly, or do we need to read your book? Well, I know everybody learns
Well, there's
differently,
all
but
there's you know what there's all those great questions, Kirsten. There's all those great things.
yeah,
What had happened was for me to write Collect the Cash was this. Last year during COVID, as I said earlier in our conversation, I was watching the companies that were closing, and because I worked for a company that had people that went out of business, I'm sensitive to that because I keep looking at that going, man. I mean, those are people. It's not just people; those are people's lives. That's their
yeah.
family. That's all that happened. So I took a writing class, and the teacher kept saying, "You can write a book in 90 days or less." And I was like, "Yeah, nah." She's like, "Oh, no, I'm telling you, you can write a book in 90 days or less." And I'm like, "Nah." So it took me a couple times to listen to her presentation and actually talk to her. And then when I told the story about the $8 million and how much money I collected, she said this, "D, you can teach business owners how to win with their cash flow."
Nice.
As she said, she goes, "You can teach us where the money resides. You can teach us how to set up our systems. Yes, how to set up our systems and what we need to do so we're not sounding crazy. So we actually have a more professional way to do this." She goes, "Because you have collected millions of dollars. You can teach us how to win. You can teach us your strategy. You can teach us what you do." And she's like, "That's a way for you to leave a legacy for business owners."
Mhm. I
And I was
love
like, "Okay." Now it took me. Now I'll be honest. It took me a minute to say yes to that because I was like, "What? No." But
it.
the more she kept saying it,
Yeah,
and then when she kept showing me, she's like, "D, I'm a small business owner, and I don't have all those things in place." And then as I've done lots of these conversations, I'm finding out that a lot of small business owners don't have a tracking system. So they don't have the name of the customer, the contract number, how much the contract is worth, what did you buy, when you're
yeah.
supposed to invoice them, when you're supposed to bill them, when you're supposed to get paid. And she's like, "D, you can teach us how to do this and how to win with our money and then how we can win in business." And I was like, okay. And so Collect the Cash came out of that conversation. It came out of COVID last year. And so, the title is Collect the Cash. The sale is not complete until the money's in the bank. And
Yeah.
one of the things you're gonna learn is basically you have a cell phone, just like I do. Everybody who has a cell phone who's listening to us will appreciate this is one thing that's in the book which you'll totally understand. Everybody who has a cell phone, whether you're team iPhone or team Android, goes through this experience. Welcome to whatever store it is. Thank you for coming in. Can I see your driver's license, please? We scanned your driver's license. Oh, you're Kirsten Campbell. Great. Miss Campbell, we were just looking at your account and we see that you are eligible for an upgrade. Oh, are you ready for an upgrade on your new phone? Oh, well, I wasn't planning on changing, but listen, the new phone, whether Android or iPhone's got these whistles, it talks to the watch, it does all this stuff. You're like, oh my gosh. And here's what I'm telling you, the story is this. In the book, I talk about sales, contracts, accounts payable, receivables, my part. And so you get your cell phone, then they make the sale. Then you have the contract, which is the second part. How do I
Hmm.
know this? Because they invoice you every single month. So you're already in the contract with them. It tells you terms and conditions. So you have the sale, you have the contract. Then you have order entry, order fulfillment. They scan the back of the box before you leave the store with your new phone. Then accounts payable bills you. So you get an invoice from whoever your phone service is with. They bill you. That's accounts payable from them. Accounts receivable is you pay them. Or they got this magic button that will turn off your services. If you keep using this service, they won't pay, won't pay for it. But I give that example in the book because that's what every business, whether you're small, medium, large, those 5 things happen in your business. And if something goes wrong along those 5 steps, you have to problem solve.
Yeah.
You got to problem solve. You have to do customer service, and like I talked about, the other piece is gratitude. And then you're gonna love this person. If Are you a sports fan?
Not really.
No.
Just
Okay.
more athletics.
Okay, got you. Well, one of the cool things that your listeners are going to love is that if you are a sports fan, you're going to love learning about the collection zone. But you got to buy the book to learn about the collection zone.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about the collection zone. Teaches so it has a really cool sports analogy. So if you're into sports, when you read it, be like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. I get it. That part.
Yeah. Great. Do you have a copy to show us and stuff?
Oh, absolutely. So this is a copy of Collect.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the sale is not
Okay.
complete until the money is actually in the bank. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So Dee, thank you so much for coming on and sharing these strategies. And I really hats off to you for writing this book. It's truly a legacy being left, and you're living it now as well. And lives are being changed daily. So thank you so much. Where can persons find you?
Oh, great. First of all, Kirsten, thank you so very much. So listen, if any of this resonates with you, please go get the copy of the book. Please go to www.collectthecash.biz/book. That's www.collectthecash.biz/book. If you don't remember all that, just go to Amazon and type in collect the cash Debo, and go to Amazon and type in collect the cash and my name Debo, and you can get it. But if you get it from me, you get a signed copy, autographed with your name and a whole lot of
Okay.
that sort of thing. How you do that? But again, www.collectthecash.biz/book. And social media. I'm here on LinkedIn. I'm definitely on Facebook and as D Bowden, and you can also find me on YouTube. But main thing is LinkedIn.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
So
you.
please share this video, guys. If you're tuning in live or even watching the replay, please share this with other business owners. We do know that your business needs to have a strategy to be current with collections. And we hear so many horror stories and statistics, and we definitely don't want your business to be a part of that statistic anytime soon. So we're going to be signing off now. Again, you'll find the links for finding D in the comments in the chat. And as always, remember every decision impacts your cash flow. Bye, guys. We're
Absolutely.
signing off now. Thanks.